Toys R Us kid. There's a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. From bikes to trains to video games, it's the biggest toy store there is. Gee whiz, I don't want to grow up, 'cause baby, if I did, I wouldn't be at Toys R Us. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com for these Miss Hollywood DC shades. I don't know if I think we got like 1 or 2 left. I'm just trying to get rid of all the, spring, summer stuff so I can make room for the fall. Eventually, I will be showing you what I decided to add to the fall collection. But as of right now, like I said, I'm trying to get rid of some shit. And if you are not already a part of our book club, please hit the Patreon link below and/or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, book club members, remember that the next book we're going to be doing, because I believe that this Michael Jackson book is going to carry us through to Thanksgiving. We're starting Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be The Color Purple. And then after we finish The Color Purple, we're going to move on to the next book. The paying book club members already know. You other ones don't. Now, let's continue talking about the magic, the madness, the whole story. 1958 through 2009. Michael Jackson by Randy Turbolele. Michael Jackson, who had just turned 23, was a contradictory figure. He was decisive and determined, as he had proved a few times along the way, but he was also vulnerable and confused. Though he was beginning to seize control of his career, he was still reluctant to sever ties with his family. "I'd die if I were alone," he told me in a telephone interview on his birthday. He was unable to leave the womb, to move out of his family house. "No way," he said. "I could never leave here." Instead of growing up, Michael actually seemed to be regressing, buying toys, playing childlike games, and for the first time actually surrounding himself with children. Young fans who gathered at the gates of the estate to catch a glimpse of a Jackson coming or going were now being invited to spend time in the inner sanctum with Michael. It was odd behavior. Jackie now called him a man-child, explaining he's a man but still a kid, a wonderful combination. When asked about the possibility of having his own children, Michael shook his head no. He'd like to raise a child, he said, but it would be one whom he would adopt in the far future. He would not procreate, he said. "I don't have to bring my own into the world," he said uneasily. "It's not necessary for me to do that." You know what's funny? I said the same thing. I don't know. I kind of believe what Michael is saying. It's no need to bring your own child in this world when there's so many that are already here that needs help and love, Not that I'm finna run out here and adopt some children. So y'all, while reading this part, it sheds light on why none of Michael Jackson's children look like him. Like, I don't even believe that the children look like the mama, if you ask me. What's the baby mother name? what's her name? Linda Rowe, Julie Andrews. I don't know. But I don't think the kids look like Michael Jackson or the baby mama, to be quite honest with you. I don't know. Maybe in actuality he did adopt his children. And when I think about it, none of the kids really look alike. I mean, they're somewhat similar, but it's like, to me, they're all made up of different races to me. Like, none of them look black or white. They look like they have black and white in them and a couple of other things in them. So I don't know. I never really believed that they were his children biologically, but I do believe that they are his children. He continued, one of my favorite pastimes is being with children, talking to them, playing with them in the grass. They're one of the main reasons I do what I do. They know everything that people are trying to find out. They know so many secrets, but it's hard for them to get it out. Baby, please, you be snoring. Babe, Lulu, can you stop that snoring while mommy work? Can recognize that and learn from it. They say things that astound you. They go through a brilliant genius stage, but then when they become a certain age, Michael paused. When they get to a certain age, they lose it. That explains a lot. I feel like once the children that he surrounded himself with got to a certain age, he didn't feel the same connection with them. Kind of like the Leonardo DiCaprio and his bitches. I was at my desk compiling a list of questions when the telephone rang. It was Michael. He got to the point quickly. There's a certain way I want to do this interview, he told me. Sure thing, Michael. What do you like? Well, he began slowly, I'd like for Janet to help. Help? Yeah. See, Janet is going to sit in on our interview, he told me. You'll ask her the questions, and then she'll ask me. Then, see, I'll give her the answers, and then she'll give them to you. How's that sound? It sounds strange, Michael. I don't even think I understand it. Could you explain that to me again? He repeated the scenario and said that it was the only way he would consent to do the interview. So I hope you understand, he said briskly. Okay, bye. Wait, I said. I don't get it, Michael. You're giving me an interview, but you're not talking to me? What kind of madness is that? It might seem like madness to you, he said, but there are reasons for the things I do. You just have to try to understand. If you're willing to do it my way, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye now. Wondered if I could conduct an interview in that manner. Did it make any sense? Of course I had to try. How could I turn down the opportunity to engage in, no doubt, the strangest interview I'd ever had with Michael, or with anyone else for that matter? Next day, I arrived at the Encino home in time for the interview. Sure glad you could make it, Michael said as we shook hands. He was wearing a black tee and matching jeans. His feet were bare. Now, remember when we read the LaToya Jackson book and LaToya said that Michael Jackson had stanky feet because he didn't take baths? I can believe it. And his room was disgusting. And it wasn't until the people got fed up with his funky ass room permeating through the halls of the Jackson family home, and they would say, clean this shit up. Then he would clean the room up spotless. And it would stay that way until it wasn't. His feet were bare. I noticed that his nose was thinner and more defined than it had been the last time I saw him, which was about 6 months earlier, backstage at the Patti LaBelle concert in Hollywood. His falsetto whisper of a voice seemed even softer than it had been at that time. After Michael and I exchanged pleasantries in the living room, Janet, age 15, walked in wearing a red leather miniskirt, black boots, and a plaid sweater. She did not greet me. Rather, she sat at Michael's side in a robotic fashion, not even acknowledging his presence. Michael introduced me to her as if we had never met. Of course we had. "Now you'll do the interview the way you promised, won't you?" he asked. When I said that I hadn't promised anything, he rose from his chair. "Well, then we can't do the interview," he said. His words clipped. "Wait," I told him, motioning for him to be seated. "Let's try. Let's start with the new album, Triumph. How do you feel about it?" Michael pinned me with his dark eyes and nodded towards his sister. I redirected my question. "Janet, would you please ask Michael how he feels about the album?" Janet turned to Michael. "He wants to know how you feel about the album," she asked. "Tell him I'm very happy with it," Michael said. His tone relaxed. Working with my brothers again was an incredible experience for me. He stopped, searching for the word. "Magical," he concluded. I tried to think of another question for Janet to ask him. I scrutinized Michael carefully for the first time that day. It suddenly struck me that he was wearing makeup. His brows and lashes were darkened with mascara, his eyelids coated with soft pink shadow. Rouge emphasized his cheekbones. And was that lipstick? Yes, I decided, scarlet lipstick. Today, the notion of Michael Jackson wearing makeup in day-to-day living as opposed to on stage or on camera, where practically all men in show business wear it, is certainly not novel. Back in 1981, though, it would never have occurred to anyone that Michael would wear makeup in his home for an interview. It was applied subtly and with great care. He looked exotic. The interview went on for about 30 more awkward minutes, child, until Terrabolele pissed him off. Finally, I decided that I'd had enough of the odd exchange and said I'd rather not continue with the interview. "But why not?" Michael wanted to know. "Wait, Janet will tell you what happened when I visited Katharine Hepburn last month," he offered. "It's a good story." "I'd rather you tell me, Michael," I pressed. "Well, I can't." There was a small silence between us. "Then look, just forget it," I said. "Let's just forget the whole thing, Michael." "Okay, cool," he said, smiling. He rose. "Nice to see you again," he remarked, not connecting with my frustration. "Let's do this again sometime." Then he left the room. Janet threw me a look and extended her hand at me, palms up, as if to explain, "Now look what you've done." Once alone in the Jacksons' living room, I tried to figure out what had just occurred. As I was putting my tape recorder and notes in my briefcase, Katharine walked in. She looked disheartened. "Did you just interview Michael?" she asked. "Please be nice to him. The press is so mean these days." She shook her head at a loss. "I don't know what to tell you," she said. She slumped into the chair opposite me, practically speechless with fatigue. It was disconcerting. In the past, she has always had such dignity and poise. "I'm worried about him," she said, finally looking at me. Her eyes were full of warmth and concern. "There's so much pressure. Things are so difficult." When she realized she was perhaps saying too much, she stopped herself. "Would you let yourself out?" she asked me abruptly. I had a sinking feeling in my stomach as I walked out of the front door. What is going on in this household? I wondered. Walking down the driveway, I looked up at the mansion and saw a face peering out from one of the upstairs windows. It was Michael. When he realized that I had spotted him, he ducked out of sight. The next morning, I received a telephone call from Joseph. You say that you love